broadcasting into space because you don't know what's out there, and you're alerting them to the fact that we're here, and who knows, maybe 99% of them are, very peace-loving and into poetry and stuff like that, but maybe 1% of them are not, they're hostile, and if you happen to hit those guys, maybe they will, do something terrible, like trying to, obliterate the earth or something else that would ruin your whole day. You can make that argument if you're of that sort, if you're kind of paranoid about letting anybody know that you're around. But the facts are that we have been doing that for the last 70 years. Ever since the Second World War, we've had FM radio, we've had television, and mostly we've had radar. So the radar set down at the local airport, that's broadcasting into space. Well, sure, it's not great programming, but anybody who's advanced enough to actually come here will have big antennas and they'll be able to pick that stuff up. So we've already sort of, rang a bell saying, hey, by the way, there's not only life here on Earth, but there's life that can build a transmitter. If you want to worry about that, it's too late to do much about it. We've been doing it for 70 years.
So all the enlightened people who've been...
How many did you meet?
Like I've heard about many. Like, say Krishna or Muhammad or Ram or Christ, Buddha, all the enlightened people who've been on this planet, there is some sort of mention of their birth or death. But when it comes to Shiva, like you say, and I've read that he was self-created. And I often ask you this question, that did he disappear into thin air, and apparently something like that happened. He couldn't even have biological children with any of the women he was married to. Also, he
At least you can't blame him for the population.
Sadhguru, I'm coming to something very important. There is a theory.
I thought population was very important.
No.
Too.
There is a theory that Shiva is alien.
Till now you've been talking about inclusiveness and suddenly you call somebody an alien.
No, Sadhguru, there is a theory.
I must tell you this. Every time I enter United States, at the immigration, I end up standing in that line which says, resident alien. I look around and see I'm the only one who fits the description.
Sadhguru, let me finish this question. So there is this theory that...
She won't let you go.
No, that everything that humans encounter, whether it's an idea, it's a thought, it's anything that they encounter, it's been transmitted into them through an outer space, an outer being. My favorite director, Christopher Nolan, made this film, Interstellar, which is one of my favorite films, where they are constantly referring to certain beings as they. They are communicating, they are talking to us, they are doing this, but they never really clarified who they were. Like, were they aliens, were they gods, who they were? And Sadhguru, like this, I think I felt it in, like when any creative idea comes to me, it has absolutely no intellectual grounds where I can go back and track it down. It's literally like a mail dropped in my head. It seems like it's from an outside space.
This is not a confession.
I know it's a confession, but Sadhguru, is it that we are being operated by an external, sort of outside beings? Is it that?
Well, people who have no faith in human intelligence are looking up that intelligence will come from somewhere else. What we need to understand is, see, there are certain things which are very significant things in this country which unfortunately this present generation has completely forgotten or very few people are reminded, and the rest of the world, some places they recognize, rest of the places it's not there. What the thing is just this. Here we consider things like this. For example, in yoga, we call your spine the center of the universe. We call it Merudanda. That means it's the axis of the universe. What is a universe? Please understand this. Today scientists are admitting it is an endless universe. Forever they said, if you travel this many million light years, you will reach the end of the universe. But now they're admitting it's an endless universe. Forever we've been saying it's an ever-expanding universe. So we said, your spine is the axis of the universe. That sounds ridiculous. Even without putting any load, most people's backs are hurting badly. They can't even walk or run or do anything. If this becomes the axis of the universe, what will happen? Why we are saying this is, see, you know there is a universe or you think there is a universe only by your experience, isn't it so? If you did not experience, if you could not see this, if you could not see like this and feel like this, you wouldn't know there is a universe. Only because of your experience there is a universe. And the center where your experience is being transmitted is through your spine. If you cut a few wires in your spine, you will have no experience even of the body, forget about the universe. So because your ability to experience the universe is rooted and centered in your spine, we are calling your spine as the axis of the universe. Suppose this hall, see now we know the boundaries of this hall. Now we can debate whether this is the center of this hall or that is the center of this hall. Suppose there are no boundaries to this hall. How would you decide which is the center of this hall? Where you are is the center of the hall, isn't it? From this basis, we developed a whole possibility for a human being, how not just to believe these things, but to make it into a living experience. It is from this the word yoga came, that the inclusiveness happens not because I tell you, oh, I love you, you love me and all this stuff. Inclusiveness happens simply because you obliterate the boundaries of your individuality. Not because I love you, you love me, I hug you, you hug me, so because we are inclusive, no. All that will last for some time. Tomorrow if they do something that you don't like, it'll be finished. But you obliterate the boundaries of your individual nature, including your body, that you know how to sit here without being identified with the boundaries of who you are. Your physical structure, your mental structure, your emotional structure has a boundary. It may be large or small. Now, I'm not talking about the body being large. It may be large or small, but it has a boundary. But there are dimensions which have no boundary. What doesn't have a boundary is non-physical in nature. So our focus has always been on that dimension, which is non-physical. That is why Shiva became the most important thing, because Shiva means that which is not, that which is non-physical. Now is he the yogi that we're talking about, is he a human being, did he come from somewhere else? There are many things this audience need to be primed for this, because it's a long story you're asking. I'm trying to encapsulate it in 2 minutes, that's dangerous because it'll look silly. There is a book, Arundhati is here, we spoke together and she kind of put it together. And there's a book on Adiyogi, which is going into these aspects, but let me put it across. See, there are things, as you said, there is no parentage. When you talk about Shiva, there is no parentage, there is no place of birth, nobody saw him as a young boy to grow up. All the time when we saw him, he was about the same age. And we don't know where he died, such a significant human being even in those times, if he died somewhere, they should have built a temple, they should have built some kind of a monument for him. Nothing like that happened. So there is no birth, there is no death, there is no parentage, there is no siblings, there is no anything to prove that he was here. Does it mean to say we can assume he came from somewhere? Not necessarily. But in many of if you look at the lore, it's very common to refer to Shiva as Yaksha Swarupa. This means, Yakshas means always those kind of beings which are not human, but who supposed to have existed in the natural environment in this planet, in the forests and other things. Whatever we were referring to, some kind of beings or creatures or whatever you want to call them, who are not human in nature. So many times in the lore, you will see any number of songs and other things talking about Shiva as a Yaksha Swarupa. So there are many things which point, but there is no specific proof that he came from elsewhere. One thing is the level of intelligence in terms of his mathematics, his music and his geometry, what he thought in terms of that. When you look at it, the times that we are referring to, see, in the yogic culture, let me admit this in front of this crowd because, oh my God, there are cameras. In the yogic lore, it is estimated Shiva or Adiyogi existed as a person. He walked this land somewhere between 60 to 75,000 years ago. When I first spoke this, all the more sensible people around me, who are not as naive as me, they're wiser people, younger people, they said, Sadhguru, if you say 75,000, they will blast you. The only archaeological proof that is there that Adiyogi or Shiva existed is about 12,600 years. You should say 12,600 or 13,000 or 14,000. I said, okay, 15,000. But actually, in the yogic lore, there is a clear aspect of… they're talking about celestial arrangements. These celestial arrangements, if you go by the modern astronomy, they existed only somewhere between 60 to 80,000 years, in that span. There is no two ways about it, the things that he's talking about. And now, of the Cambay, what's it called? What is the Indian name for that, I'm sorry? Kumbat, is it? Yeah. Of the Gulf of Kumbat, now they've done explorations, they actually went there to clean up the plastic. But then they found a city which is 5 square miles. And now international archaeologists from… especially from Germany and France, they have dated this according to carbon dating process, that it is a minimum of 32,000 years. 32,000 years ago, nowhere on this planet did a city exist. Not just a city did not exist, the idea of a city did not exist. But they had a city which is 5 square miles in size, properly, orderly way of doing things. It's been buried, they're estimating it has gone underwater for about 9,000 years. And similarly, of course, everybody has heard about Dwaraka. There are excavations which unfortunately now is the line of control between India and Pakistan, you can't touch it. If you dig, something else will happen, you will hit the mines. So, there is enough proof today, archaeological proof to say, over 30,000 years ago, there was a civilized society here. Maybe not across the country, but in pockets it existed. So, this dating goes back like this, so I'm just saying over 15,000 years, so that when I travel west also I look sensible. Okay, 15,000, all right. 75,000, they'll resist because their idea of the world is only 3,000 years old. They said everything happened in 6 days and it's only 3,000 years old. Anything beyond 3,000 years is not scientific. This has been the approach, unfortunately. Now slowly they're correcting themselves without looking stupid, but it's utterly stupid. For all these centuries you insisted it's only 3,000 years, now you're slowly extending it because science comes and says something else. You will watch it in the next 50 years, science will come and say… modern science will come and say many things which we have been talking for thousands of years.